up? It's Cinema Shogun here, and it's no secret that we talk about a lot of different things on this channel. We dive into celebrity drama, we cover true crime stories, and for the last year and some change, we have been on World War III watch over here on this channel. In fact, maybe I will start titling these segments or these videos World War III watch, because what I have been trying to do is I've been trying to document some of the steps that have led us to where we're at today in the world. I've been trying to document some of the escalation, if you will, that has led us to where we're at now, because there has been various threats, there's been various, movements of troops and all types of things that I've been talking about on this channel for the last year and some change. In fact, it would be interesting to go back to the first video I made on this type of topic, which was when I think the first video I made talking about stuff like this was months before Russia invaded Ukraine. I was trying to warn people that it was going to happen. And I mean, I was warning people that it was going to happen while Ukraine was denying that it was going to happen. They were partying right across the border as Russia was stacking troops up on the border. Even America, the U.S., was downplaying the situation, which eventually they came around and issued the warning that the invasion was going to happen. But I was calling it out for months before the mainstream media. And as days go by, we talk about a lot of things on this channel, but I make sure that I always bring it back to documenting some of what is happening here. Because if you're paying attention, then you know that all of this is leading us to a major military conflict, World War III. Now, I would argue personally that we're already in the middle of World War III, and that we have been for a while now. In fact, I would say that you, right now watching this video, that you are an active participant. You are an active combatant in World War III as we speak. You probably just don't know it yet. But anyways, things are getting really bad. I don't make these videos to scare people. I make these videos to inform people. Now, of course, people get scared sometimes by the information I share, but it is what it is. We live in a scary world, and we always have. There's always been threats in this world. Sure, we've been living more comfortably than prior generations, but we can't forget, the nature of man, which is violence. You know what I mean? But anyways, things have really been ratcheting up over the past couple of months. I mean, we've reached the point of no return at this point. There is not a scenario in my mind, hopefully I'm wrong, there's not a scenario in my mind where everything that has happened and transpired over the last couple of years can be walked back and forgotten about. No. The only outcome is military conflict, a major military conflict. And if you've been paying attention to how the chess pieces have been moving, then you already know that. Look no further than Sudan. The other day I reported to you all that there's kind of like a civil war happening in Sudan right now. In fact, one side actually just took over a laboratory filled with deadly viruses. The World Health Organization had to issue a warning because they feel like these deadly viruses may be let out of this lab during the conflict. Now, I need to make another video on this conflict. That's not what this video is about. But after doing some research, it became obvious to me that the issue that's happening in Sudan, it is yet another proxy war. It is Ukraine Part 2. It is a proxy war that's really between Russia and America. And that's much of what World War III is going to be, or at least that's what it is right now. We're going to have proxy wars happening in other countries that are heavily influenced by America, Russia, and other superpowers. So we're influencing people in other countries to fight each other on our behalf, so we don't necessarily have to look each other eye to eye on the battlefield. But eventually, it's going to lead to that. Eventually, I think we're going to have to stop playing games we're all going to have to show our cards, and we're just going to have to get it over with. Fighting proxy wars all around the world and collapsing governments so you can get your way or so they can get their way, it's only going to last for so long, especially in today's day and age where people can do research on their own and figure out what's really going on. Well, anyways, the Sudan situation, it's another topic, but it's just yet another escalation point that's leading us to a big conflict. Now, there's also problems going on with China, the South China Sea, Taiwan. We've talked about Taiwan a lot. And of course, there's always been issues with North Korea. You know, the issues that we've had with North Korea have been going on for a long time. And North Korea always scares me because I feel like, you know, Kim Jong-un, I feel like he's a little more unhinged probably than your average world leader. So I think if anyone was crazy enough to push that button, I think it would be him. If anyone was unhinged enough to not be able to accept defeat and would just try to wipe everyone off the map before, you know, losing, I think it would be him. But instead of de-escalating the situation with North Korea, we have decided for the first time in 40 years to send a nuclear submarine to South Korea. For the first time, I believe, since the Cold War. Now, I'm pro-America. I'm an American. So at the end of the day, I kind of have to take America's side here. But I have to be honest with my viewers as well. And what America does and what America has been doing, we throw rocks and then we hide our hands and then we point the fingers at everyone else like it's your fault that this is happening. You're the bad guys. The same thing with Ukraine. We provoked Russia for a long time before they decided to invade Ukraine. If you think that sending a submarine, a nuclear submarine, to South Korea right now, in the middle of all of this madness that's going on, that's obviously us provoking North Korea. Make no mistake about it, there's no other way that you could look at it. We're not having peace talks. We're not de-escalating the situation. We're not trying to prevent World War III. It looks to me like we're trying to start it. It looks to me like we're like, by any means necessary, we got to make sure World War III pops off. Let's start something in Sudan. Let's have something going on in Taiwan. We got Ukraine. We got this. We got that. And now Biden just issued a new warning to North Korea as our nuclear submarine is heading off the coast of North Korea as we speak. Biden just issued this warning. Let's take a listen.
Such an act. A nuclear attack by North Korea against the United States or its allies or partisans or partners is unacceptable and will result in the end of whatever regime were to take such an act.
So, yeah, spoken like a true leader. I'm sure those words are striking fear into the heart of our enemies. And I'm sure that statement that he just made was really reassuring to the American people that we are all safe under the current administration. Now, if you had trouble understanding what he was saying there, basically he was threatening North Korea that if you shoot nuclear missiles, we will take down your regime. Well, I kind of don't want to get to the point where they're shooting off nuclear missiles. How many people would die because of that? You know what I mean? So, anyways, let's dive into this article so we could better understand what is happening here. U.S. to send nuclear submarine to South Korea for the first time in 40 years. The U.S. will send a nuclear sub to visit South Korea for the first time in 4 decades as part of a new deterrence arrangement between Washington and South Korea that is bound to draw the ire of North Korea. The arrangement set to be formalized by President Biden later this week, is being described by the White House as the most significant of its kind since the Cold War. Dubbed the Washington Declaration, it is designed to strengthen U.S. deterrence commitments to South Korea in the face of persistent nuclear threats from its northern enemy. We intend to take steps to make our deterrence more visible through the regular deployment of strategic assets, including a U.S. nuclear ballistic submarine visiting South Korea, which has not happened since the early 1980s. The understanding will mark the climax of South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's official state visit to the White House on Wednesday. We will strengthen our training exercises and simulation activities to improve the U.S.-South Korea's alliance's approach to deterring and defending against North Korea's threats, including by better integrating South Korean non-nuclear assets into our strategic planning as part of the alliance's effort to strengthen deterrence and manage concerns about nuclear non-proliferation in the region, the official said. The declaration will also set up a new U.S.-South Korea nuclear consultative group meant to improve nuclear-related intelligence sharing. The NCG is what it's being called. The NCG is a regular bilateral consultation mechanism that will focus on nuclear and strategic planning issues and will give our South Korean allies additional insight in how we think about planning for major contingencies in many respects. This is modeled after what we did with European alliances during the height of the Cold War and similar periods of potential external threat. The new provisions in the declaration are designed to firm up South Korean public and government trust in the United States commitment, the official said, and display a united front to Northern Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The United States has not taken these steps since the height of the Cold War with our very closest handful of allies in Europe. We are seeking to ensure that by undertaking these new procedures and steps, that our commitment to extend deterrence is unquestioned. During his state visit, Yoon expected to reaffirm South Korea's commitment to its own obligations under the United Nations Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which Seoul ratified in 1975 and which bars it from acquiring nuclear weapons. A recent poll found that 71% of South Koreans support the country developing its own nuclear weapons, and 56% support deploying U.S. nukes in South Korean territory. When asked to choose, 2/3 of South Koreans, 67%, preferred a homegrown arsenal, while just 9% backed U.S. nuclear deployment. So, when the time comes, when all of this ish finally hits the fan, when the chickens come home to roost, is that how the saying goes? When all of this reaches its boiling point, I don't want any of my viewers being surprised, because we are watching this stuff play out right in front of our faces every day. I don't know how much you all know about World War I or World War II, but a lot of it didn't just start overnight. You know, there are signs that lead up to these mass conflicts. There are signs, there are situations, there are little conflicts and skirmishes, and if you've been paying attention, then you already know where all of this is leading us. But mark my words, when that day comes, and it looks like it's going to come sooner than later, we're going to have people panicking. We're going to have people surprised, scratching their head, wondering what is going on? How did we get here? Because they're not paying attention. If you're paying attention, then you know exactly how we got here. If you're paying attention, then this should come as no surprise, because so many things have been going on around us in this world that you should have been paying attention to that you weren't. So when that day comes, I rest easy knowing that I and the people who watch my channel, we knew that this moment was coming. Is there anything that we could really do to prepare? Not necessarily. Is there anything we can do to stop it? Not necessarily. We could raise awareness, we could talk about it, we could point these things out. But like I said, it looks to me like the writing is on the wall already. These people want war, and they're going to get it. And one way to get it is by continuing to, what they call it is deterrence. We're deterring. No, you're provoking. Let's just call it what it is. You haven't had a nuclear sub in South Korea in 40 years, but now you're sending it there to show the world this is deterrence. No, you're provoking. You're poking the hornet's nest. And then when North Korea does something stupid, or they start sending rockets off again and they show a force, everyone's going to sit around and wonder why. As America continues to build up their military on the borders of these countries that obviously have a problem with it. Now, I'm not here to argue whether it's okay or not okay. I'm not here to argue about the logistics. You can form your own opinion on that. I'm just here to state the facts. And the facts are that we keep doing the same thing. The same thing that happened in Ukraine is happening with North Korea, is happening with China. These people don't like the U.S. military basically creeping up on their borders and militarizing, various smaller countries and islands around their borders. But that's what we continue to do. And we're basically just asking for something to pop off. It looks to me like we want something to happen. And we're going to continue doing what we do until that day comes. Because the powers that be, they want war. They want war. Let me know your thoughts, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring that notification bell. And I'll talk to you all in the next video. Hopefully, World War III hasn't broken out by then.